Welcome back. And so we start our debate. Let's introduce the candidates. We have Bob Gibbons, who is running as an independent. We have Wendy Maurer, who's the Republican nominee. And we have Paul Wadowski, who's running as an independent. Our questioner in the debate is our co-host for Rappahannock Issues, David Kerr. Just to let you know the rules that we set up for the debate, each candidate is going to have 3 minutes for an opening statement. And then David will ask a question that each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. At the end, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. And so now I turn it over to Mr. Gibbons for his opening statement.
Thank you, Tom, very much. First of all, I want to thank the Central Virginia Television for putting it together, a fine debate forum for the good people of Stafford County. These events are important for voters to hear the great ideas candidates have to offer and enable residents to make informed decisions. Many of you may be wondering why former Board of Supervisors member as myself will be running again after a few years off. In fact, the reasoning is simple. Now is an extremely important time in Stafford's history. Growth is coming to our region, beginning with the new finished hot lanes. This growth can either bring us a prosperous future or a negative one if not properly planned. Growth means expanded services and larger budgets. It means transportation gets worse, not better, and it doesn't have to be. Stafford residents deserve a conservative, experienced leader, familiar with the issues, who has worked tirelessly to ensure the county remains an excellent place to work and raise a family. No one in this election has even come close to the number of years of experience that I have. I've worked to prepare 16 county budgets, worked to improve Northern Virginia transportation system through the construction of the Centerport Parkway, I-94 airport exit, and the new HOV lanes. I've also worked to maintain the historic heritage of the county while guiding new development across the region. Not only am I experienced, my track record is one of success, with Stafford being rated one of the 20th best places to live in the country while I was serving on the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Well, I too want to thank you too for hosting this debate. I was here for the grand opening, and the CBTV studio is a perfect example of what happens when inspired citizens come together with a mission to serve our citizens in Stafford County, and that's what makes this area so great. I chose Stafford County after looking around the country for the ideal place to raise my family. I came here on September 10th, 2001, or actually left the West Coast on September 10th, 2001, and arrived in a community devastated by a terrorist attack. But the people were amazing, and that's what makes this county so great. I served with my fellow citizens on various boards of commissions, and now I'm asking to serve you guys once again as your Rockhill District Supervisor in this next election. Because my 14 years of service on those various boards and commissions made me realize that we need to have a better, more focused way of governing here in Stafford, and I want to focus on 3 main priorities. One is fostering economic development, 2, managing growth, and 3, ensuring that we're funding our schools. As an 8-year member of the Economic Development Authority, I'm proud of the economy that we have brought to Stafford County. We have numerous businesses added on 610 and Route 17. We've added a hospital and hundreds of professional jobs. In addition to that, we have allowed Stafford County residents to work in Stafford County and get off of 95. I remember as a young mother when I tried to take my child to the hospital in huge traffic while she was screaming in the back to the hospital in Fredericksburg. Now we have a hospital in Stafford. But this economic growth is not the only reason that we are successful in Stafford, because it brings tax revenue so we don't have to depend upon our homeowners and raise their taxes to fund our services. Secondly, we need to manage our growth, because the economic development is not going to solve all of our problems if we don't effectively manage our growth. We've experienced years, decades of approved subdivisions without adequate proffers, and that has led to devastating overcrowded schools. And as a mother with 2 kids in Stafford County Public Schools, I am horrified by the lack of adequate financial controls that led to the recent $8.3 million in funding in our bank account while we simultaneously laid off 55 teachers. Additionally, as a business owner, I am also shocked that we have such antiquated financial controls. Stafford County needs somebody who's experienced, energetic, and passionate about this community to usher in its continued success. I am that person. I bring that to this race, and I ask for your support on November 3rd.
Mr. Paul Wadowski.
I too want to add my thanks for you hosting this event. I am truly running for the vacant Rockhill Supervisor position. And I am a 25-year Stafford County resident, and my campaign centers on affordable bandwidth for all our Rockhill residents. It also centers on Stafford County education accountability, not only $8.3 million, but $6 million in 2009. We have an aging water and sewer infrastructure modernization aspects that needs to be addressed, specifically in the Rockhill district. I'm a retired U.S. Air Force veteran, and I bring a 21st century leadership outlook. Based on my enlisted time as a medic during the Vietnam era, I was a commissioned officer serving at Headquarters Strategic Air Command under the Reagan administration, and I served at the National Security Agency when the Berlin Wall came down. I finally served in the Pentagon during Desert Storm. Currently, I am on appointment as a staff member on Capitol Hill, and I will be employed there on October 1st, 14 years. I serve as the technical lead of the Financial Management Information System and its disaster recovery capabilities. I am a project manager of new production upgrades of its computing unit. I am also a graduate of the Community College of the Air Force. I received a bachelor's degree from Oklahoma State University under the Air Force Institute of Technology on a U.S. Air Force scholarship, and I'm a life alumni member. I also hold a master's degree from Missouri, the Rolla campus, which is known as MIT of the West, and I have a published thesis. Currently an American Legion member. I'm a former Life Scout in Boy Scouting, and I'm an active supporter of all our local troops. I'm a former Optimist Club member who coached 2 youth basketball teams during the same season. I'm a former Quantico Men's Golf Association president, recurring playing member. I'm a former certified Class B Stafford Recreational Soccer League coach, former T-ball coach in Stafford. I'm a United States Chess Federation master with 2 state championships, plus I'm the 2003 Armed Forces champion. I'm a proactive Stafford County, highly independent thinking conservative citizen. I regularly attend Board of Supervisors, School Board, Planning Commission, and even Utility Commission meetings. I go to public hearings to voice for the taxpayers on all kinds of opportunities. I'm an advocate for treetops versus rooftops in our overdeveloped county. I humbly ask each of you watching to please vote for this vet on Tuesday, November 3rd.
Well, we're going to begin the questioning part of the debate. I'd like to begin by thanking you all for being here tonight, and to just make a note, this is a very historic event. We've had various independent television stations in the area. There was once even an NBC affiliate running out of Fredericksburg years and years ago. But never before has there been a televised debate of any of our local races, or any of our House of Delegates races, or any of our state Senate races. This is the first time that we've had a televised debate, and you are the first persons to participate in that. So I think that's pretty neat, and I just want to say thank you, because it's a new experience for everybody. One of the big projects, the biggest project, perhaps the biggest project in the entire region so far in our history, is George Washington Village. 3,000 units being proposed, 1.5 million square feet of commercial space. Very interesting and different proffers package. And I'd like to get your opinion on that project and what came while you were a member of Board of Supervisors, what would be your reaction to it, what would you ask, and where do you stand on it? And I'm going to start going from right to left, and we're going to stagger so everybody gets a different starting point. Paul, could you start off?
I'll be glad to start off on this. This project is a perfect example of overdevelopment in the county. We have tons of development that still haven't been built out. It's not affordable. Proffers are a 20th century idea. It's a nice thing to ask a builder to bring those things to the table, but they really don't have to do those type of aspects. this project is much bigger than even the Aquia harbor. And one of the big problems that we've had in Stafford County is we had one exit in the harbor. It's probably going to require some massive homeowners association, and we're even having problems building out in Embry Mills, which is our latest big development, mainly because most citizens don't realize that the homeowners association fees are going to be quite hefty on top of everything else.
Thank you very much, Paul. Wendy?
In any of these development packages, the devil is in the details. And we get these development packages and they bring the economic analysis with it and say with 1.5 million square feet of commercial, we're going to realize this much revenue and all will be well and the project will pay for itself. It all sounds great, but just because you build it does not necessarily mean they will come. And what we don't get with some of these packages is actually a demand analysis. So even though they're going to build 1.5 million square feet in commercial development, there is no indication within the proffer package that there's going to be a demand for that commercial space. For example, one of the projects that was that is up now for redoing the proffers is the the Augustine subdivision, and in that is the Colonial Forge, and they don't want to do the 150,000 square feet in commercial, which is off of Mountain View Road, because number one, they no longer control the land on that piece of property, but number two, they don't see where there's going to be a demand for that property. So here is where we need to change the way we're looking at these package submissions. Is not only do we need them to do an economic analysis on full build out, but whether or not there will actually be a demand for this commercial. In addition to that, there's a lot of if, then, but, fors in that particular project. For example, they say they will extend Mine Road if they are able to get the easements that they need in order to extend Mine Road. I'm all for extending Mine Road because it gives us another north-south corridor, but if they don't get the easements, it'll be incumbent upon the county to condemn that land, and I'm not for that. So if you are going to bring us a package, make sure all the details does not leave the county holding the bag at the end of the day.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Bob?
Well, I'm on the Planning Commission, and we, on a 6-to-1 vote, voted against that project. And one of the things that bothers me the most is that we have a 10-year CIP, but we have a 20-year comprehensive plan, and the two don't match. And if we're going to do development, then we got to be neutral. It's got to be revenue neutral with the SIP plan. We got to be able to afford to buy schools, or build schools, and put in infrastructure when the development comes in. This development came with nowhere near it. All the profits that they had is mostly for infrastructure for the roads, nothing for the school, nothing for the water and sewer, except for the tap fees. So I'm a firm believer that the CIP has got to be able to provide services for any action that we consider for zoning.
Thank you very much, Bob. Next question, well, actually before we proceed, I wanted to mention that the questions we have tonight some of them were provided by the Freelance Star. The editorial page editor of the Star was not able to make it to the debate, but he kindly contributed some questions. So we're very grateful for the Freelance Star's input. Which leads me to one of their questions, which I think was a very good one. It had to do with the new toll lanes. Now, just a quick bit of background, that's 29 miles of road that runs from Edsel Road up in Alexandria down to Aquia. It charges some very expensive toll fees, amongst the highest toll. No, it is the highest toll fee in the United States. It's cheaper to drive to New York. But one of the biggest challenges right now, outside maybe some complaints by a user about the fees, is the choke point that has developed at Aquia. As part of the contract, the toll company has to charge a seriously high fee between Quantico and Aquia to reduce the volume. You get a massive toll build-up there, 2 choke points. It's really affecting people's ability to get home, their sanity. I hear that quite a bit. You can't solve it personally as a member of the Board of Supervisors. But what would you do as a member of the Board of Supervisors to try to bring some sanity to this, to a solution, and who would you work with, and how would you work with them? And I'm going to start in the middle this time with Wendy.
Well, I appreciate the question, and as a commuter to the Pentagon, I experienced when the tolls opened up, and because they were new, I saved 20, 30 minutes on my commute per day, and 2.5 hours of my life getting that back a week. It was a huge benefit. However, more and more traffic is congesting it, and I have noticed the congestion and that choke point. I think it was a bad design. One thing I will note on a positive side, however, is that it's amazing in a public-private partnership how fast that road was built in comparison to some of the regular VDOT roads that we see in and around, or take Mine Road, for example. That's been going on for years, but man, we got those hot lanes lickety-split. So it's amazing how much a public-private partnership can motivate somebody to actually get the construction done. That being said, we need to work with our elected leaders. I have excellent relationships with the speaker, and hopefully with our next delegate, Mark Dudenheffer, and I plan to put a lot of pressure on those individuals to come up with a solution. I have been told a solution is getting ready to be revealed in the November timeframe, where hopefully they will extend the lane that is merging onto traffic off to the left about another mile, and that should help solve that problem. But we need to, the biggest solution to the problem is managing our growth better, ensuring that we have adequate transportation infrastructure before we start approving all of these developments.
David, simply, this thing is a mess. It was a great idea when it first was envisioned, and it should have worked, but it didn't work. There's tools that we can do that are with us right now. We can add shoulder lanes onto I-95 from Stafford down to the river. They did it in Fairfax. They just issued another contract for congestion mitigation to open up these lanes whenever you get crowded. So on our weekends, we can get rid of a lot of the crowding that we have. We got all kinds of things that can help us. I mean, we need help in VRE. We need to have more trains. We have 20,000 a day now that travel VRE. March has put double-decker buses on, 69 passengers. We've got all kinds of pool lanes, slug lanes. We're doing everything in carpool management that we can do. But VDOT has got to get on top of it. The answer that they did on 66 should be done on I-95. There's no reason that they already have the engineering, they already have the plans, and it can be done. And the pool lanes, the existing express lanes needs to be moved down to the airport exit. That is the one that can connect both arterials together. It's got a lot of space for parking, and it can stack a lot better. So that's my feeling.
Thank you. Paul?
I agree with Bob that this is a disaster. We have moved this 9 miles down the road. And one of the new exciting things that VDOT is proposing is a divergent diamond at the 630 interchange. It's a 21st century entity. When I first went to their first public hearing, they were looking to put 2 commuter parking lots. They realized 610 already has 2 commuter parking lots. We can use a vertical parking garage. It seems we always have time to spend money. Not right the first time, we're used to spending it over and over again. VRE has been troublesome for years. There's been many ideas like staggering the trains, going every other stop. It's just a common aspect that the Europeans do, as well as through the East Coast, so you move a lot of people more quickly through the corridor. The General Assembly definitely has to be involved, whoever is elected as a delegate, or you never know if the Speaker of the House is going to remain. He was very instrumental in getting transportation dollars, but I don't know what happened to the transportation dollars in regards to Exit 630, which is definitely an area that we need to modernize. It will connect our hospital, our fire and rescue, and then it will also be a perfect lead-in to get down to our airport.
That leads into a question, and that's the airport. The Board of Supervisors recently
Could I rebut against Paul?
Actually,
Just someone.
During your time during the airport
Thank you.
one.
I apologize.
That's fine.
In fact, I'll give you that chance in just a minute, Bob. As your next up, I was going to ask about the airport. The Board of Supervisors recently voted down the Planning Commission's recommendations for an overlay district on the airport. What do you see as the future for the airport? What do you see about compatible use for the airport?
Well, you all know that the board is in discussions with the possible Lego people coming into that area. That could be a boom to us. I think that the airport, with the expansion, so the aircraft can get to the Pacific Rim, is a great thing. And I see a great future for the airport, bringing in industry. Part of our problem at the airport is we never had the adequate sewer and water brought in there until recently. And then we had such restrictions on the buildings that were built around there that nobody wanted to come in to meet those. So as planning commission members, we changed that. So I mean, I've been in it from the beginning. We got the interchange by Congress. I appeared before Congress with Mr. Bateman on that. And so I'm a firm believer in the airport because I think that can bring in future business.
Thank you, Bob. Wendy?
Am I next?
Yes, we're going round and round.
I too am a supporter of the airport. I think that this gets back into land use planning. So we build all these economic development assets, but what we haven't done is done a comprehensive plan to ensure that we protect them. And we've developed all these houses around the airport, and now that the airport wants to expand to its original design, you've got a lot of homeowners that are coming out and complaining about noise and the fact that they weren't notified, and this is all because we didn't do adequate planning in the first place. We need to have these overlay districts because what the overlay districts provide is notification to incoming homeowners so they don't get surprised at the end of the day. I'm excited about the future of the airport. I think it's a strategic economic asset, and I hope it continues to thrive.
Thank you, Wendy. Paul?
I am also a big proponent of exploiting industrial base, business base around the airport. It's a $120 million investment that we have in this area. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. Westinghouse was right next to the airport. It created jobs, financial opportunities for some of the hardworking blue-collar people in the area. And by doing that, it created revenue where these people could invest in their community and purchase some of these developments that are sitting in. A key concern to me is sequestration. I recently got an email from Senator Warner. He's trying to work bipartisan. That's one of the key aspects we have to watch in this area because it could affect the people in this area. And one of the key things we also have to watch at the airport is we already have too many empty storefronts and strip malls, and we got to be really careful that we build out accordingly so the airport is prosperous and generates revenue for the community.
Paul, Wendy, Bob, I want to thank you for your really good answers to our questions. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.